What's going on, everyone? Back with another episode of Stuff and Things. It has been 1 full year of ownership with my Storyteller Overland Classic mode. I figured this would be a good time to bring the van up into the mountains, even though we just got some snow last night, and give you guys kind of an update. 1 year of ownership, what I think about this van through and through. Now, if you've been following along on this build journey, you have basically seen every piece of this documented along the way. I built the van up to be sitting how it is right now over the past year, and I'm not gonna lie, it was pretty quick, but since I spent so much time in my old van, I knew going into this build exactly what I wanted to do. Brand new platform for me on a brand new chassis, being the all-wheel drive drivetrain in here. The van companies within the industry have been developing new products for a while, and there was a lot of new things that I wanted to test out. Things just get better and better over the years, and it's at a point now where you can build a super kick-ass van to do basically whatever you want it to do. I'm going to start this video off by answering a question that gets asked quite often. You guys see my Tacoma and my slide-in camper, rooftop tents, you see all of these other camping style vehicles that I'm testing out, and then you kind of compare it to a van like this. Everyone always asks me, if I could only have one vehicle, what would that vehicle be? And because I've been asked it so many times, I've really thought through it time and time again. My answer to that question is, if I could only have one vehicle, it would be this one. Now, there's a lot of reasons for that, mainly because I'm most comfortable in the Sprinter platform. I know how to work on these things because I ripped apart my old NCV3, which was a 2018, and then I dove into this chassis, and a lot of it was pretty similar, so I know these vehicles inside and out from just like the base chassis platform. That being said, you can also make them pretty dang capable to go a lot of places. You guys have seen my van in a lot of places where sometimes Sprinter vans probably have not been before. You definitely need to know how to drive off-road to be able to get these vans into some certain places, but at the end of the day, you can actually make these things pretty capable, especially with this new all-wheel drive platform. So I can talk about all of the live-in features and the comfort of everything, but what it really comes down to is actually the community. I love trucks, I love overlanding, rooftop tents, all of that stuff is well and good, but at the end of the day, I really just want to camp and connect with friends and family, meet new people while I'm on the road, and there's really no other community that can do it quite like the van community. Storyteller as a whole has an amazing community already with a lot of owners all across the country. There are forums where people are sharing ideas and modification, troubleshooting. It's really all about the community, and over the years it's become pretty tight-knit. Now, I'm not saying that you don't have that in other communities like the wheeling and off-roading community. The Toyota community is great. I'm sure other platforms out there have great communities, but out of everything that I have experienced, nothing quite compares to the van community. I love the people, I love the adventures, and I love the platform. So with all of that being said, let me show you guys what I truly love about this van. We're going to start with covering the chassis. We'll talk about the inside Storyteller bits, and then I'll do a quick overview of some of my favorite mods, although I've covered all of this stuff before. So if you want to jump ahead to a specific point in this video, I will leave chapters down below. You can kind of click through and get to what you want to see. And also, if you want to see anything specific that we're talking about as far as modification and functionality of the Storyteller goes, then you can check out the playlist right up here in the corner, because like I said, I've documented this van through and through over the past year, and we're going to dive into it one more time. Now let's start with a really basic overview of this van. This is of course built by Storyteller Overland. This is known as their classic mode, and they are produced out of Birmingham, Alabama. Going into 2023, there were rumors that Mercedes was going to release a new drivetrain for these vans, and Storyteller was kind of splitting the production between a 4x4 version, which everyone knows and loves, and then this new all-wheel drive platform. I was fortunate enough to kind of pick and choose what I wanted to do, and I'm generally not a first adopter of new platforms. However, when it comes to testing and reviewing and doing everything that I do now, I've definitely warmed up to it over the years. So I of course opted for the all-wheel drive platform, and let me tell you, that was probably the best decision that I made when moving into a Storyteller. I don't want to harp on this too much, but a lot of people ask me over and over again, what's the difference between the all-wheel drive and the 4x4? And if you watch through some of my videos, specifically some of the rim rocker videos where we went from Montrose, Colorado, from Adrenaline vans, all the way out to Moab, which was probably 200 to 300 miles off-road the entire time, you will be able to see in certain situations involving higher elevation that the all-wheel drive just simply outperforms the 4x4s. Instead of the V6 turbo diesel, this thing is, I believe, a 2-liter twin-turbo 4-cylinder diesel motor in here, and I was very skeptical about that. Mercedes was saying that these will probably run better, produce more power and torque over the 4x4 counterpart, and so far all of that stuff has come true. Once you get up to, I would say, like 10,000 feet in elevation, that's when your motor is going to be starving for oxygen. The 4x4s, for some reason, I noted this in my old van and some other vans that were out on the trip with us when we were at Adrenaline, the 4x4s simply can't keep up with these up in higher elevation. The dual turbos in this also allow it to drive nicer basically across the board wherever you're at. It gets up and moves from the line a little bit quicker. I actually drag raced this van against my old van as they were built out fairly similarly, and this thing definitely jumps it off the line. The 4x4 will eventually catch up, but it will not surpass this van, and I had that old van tuned. There aren't even any tunes available for this as I'm filming this video, but once we can squeeze a little bit more power and performance out of these things, you really can't go wrong with the all-wheel drive. Now, the all-wheel drive system has also been great in a lot of different environments. We're talking sand, mud, rocky trails, basically everywhere you go. The all-wheel drive that Mercedes has put into this van has been pretty phenomenal. The only time that I see any issues right now is in what I'm standing in right here, some pretty deep snow. My tires probably have close to 20,000 miles on them. This van, as it sits right now after 1 year of driving, has 23,000 miles on it. So these tires are getting close to the end of their life when it comes to snow. They'll still be good on the road, a little bit off-road when we're getting into some muddy or snowy stuff. That's probably when I'm gonna see some traction issues. That being said though, before we do our big trip up to Alaska this year, I'm planning on refreshing the tires. That way everything is good to go. So if you have some nice tires paired with this all-wheel drive system, these things can definitely go places. Now, I've talked about this quite a lot in some other videos too, but why did I pick the classic mode? Storyteller offers 3 different models in their Sprinter platform. You have the classic mode, which is the base level. You have a stealth mode, which has some upgrades, and then the beast mode, which is the big bad one. It has suspension and lighting and everything straight from the factory, but you guys know I like to modify things. So that's why I went with the classic mode. I wanted to build something out of the classic mode that would compete and then eventually even be better than the beast mode. So that is why I dubbed this thing the Psy mode. I'm sure you guys will have a lot of questions on the modifications and things like that. Like, is it more beneficial to buy a classic and then build it up yourself to be a beast mode? We can talk about that stuff in the comments down below. I've already hit on it quite a lot in different videos, but I've been so immersed in this that I can answer a lot of questions when it comes to that stuff. The way the van sits right now, I've definitely put more money into it than buying a beast mode outright. However, this thing has a lot more functionality and capability both inside and outside that a stock beast mode just simply doesn't have. So before we jump into all of the modifications and everything outside and inside, I want to talk about just the Storyteller functionality as this van comes. So let's hop inside and look at some of my favorite features in there. So back here in the living portion of the van, this is of course a 144 Sprinter, so it's the shortest model that they make, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I see a lot of people building vans for overlanding on 170s, sometimes 170 extendeds, and that's great and all to have all of that room, but for one person, two people, maybe two people and a dog, I think I would get by just fine on a 144, and this is the platform that I would drive for the foreseeable future. So one of the things that really drew me into the Storyteller layout is what I'm kind of kneeling on right here. This is the Groove Lounge. One of the reasons why I love the Groove Lounge so much is because of the modularity. I like this space to be able to kind of flex around and either seat more people, seat less people, but have more storage. I kind of want it to move and adapt to whatever I'm doing in the van, as opposed to just a built-in shower right here. Sure, it's great for storage, but it makes everything feel really closed off. So I can scoot my way all the way to the very back of the van here, and we could sit two people here, 3, 4 there, 5, 6, spin the seats around, 7, 8 people can honestly hang out in a 144 Sprinter fairly comfortably because of the way Storyteller does things. So the Groove Lounge right here, I'll just show you guys how this works, even though you've probably seen it a million times. Kind of folds around, you have an extra cushion here for some back and neck support. And in this position here, this is actually a pull-tested seat, so we're talking safety. You can safely drive around 4 people in a van like this, because to get the certification to have seatbelts here that are, I guess, DOT rated, it means that they had to crash test a system like this. You won't see many other van companies out there doing that because of the large investment involved, but I love it because it's safe. These vans are, of course, RVIA certified, and out of all of the vans that have that certification, meaning you can buy them from a dealer, get them serviced at dealers, you can take out an RV loan against something like this, I think that Storyteller is probably the best option out there. Sure, there are a lot of small builders that can kind of create things like this for you, but I would much rather go with a company like Storyteller who has a really good footprint in the industry. You can get your van serviced everywhere, and of course you have that awesome community. So actual safe seats here, you're not just like sitting on a dinette in like some other vans. I typically will keep the Groove Lounge in this configuration right here. They call this storage under here the flex space because obviously it flexes around and you can kind of do different things with it. So right here I'll typically throw my camera gear or any other bags. You can sit here nice and comfortably. And this is the way that I leave the Groove Lounge, I would say like 95% of the time. If I'm traveling with other passengers, then I will pop it up. But more commonly than that, we'll be traveling with our pup, Camber. So in that case, I can move the Groove Lounge forward like this, lay this down, and now it turns into a secondary bed, which would be plenty big for a grown adult to sleep in. I also have a mattress topper back here that I throw on it, and Camber loves it because she has this giant dog bed as we're traveling around. And again, it just feels so open in here. My next favorite feature of the Storyteller is the shower. Now this is something where some people may get turned off because they like the idea of a built-in shower that's always there with a cassette toilet, and I totally understand that. However, with the way that I use a van, the Halo shower is much more my speed. Your entire shower system packs up into this cabinet here. You can store towels and shampoo and any kind of shower necessities in here. And then when you're ready to shower, all you do is lower the bottom portion of this cabinet right here like this. A little bit of pink stuff coming out of there because the van is currently winterized. And then the shower system, of course, drops down and pulls out to a pretty decent size. I know some pretty big dudes who travel around in Storytellers and they shower in them. They have no problem I have no problem. I'm not a huge human being, but you can take a really nice hot shower here. You have the water recirc, that way you're not wasting water waiting for it to warm up. And then once you're done, you just let this thing dry out. You have the antimicrobial shower curtain on here. I would say the only downside to this is some people get the ick when the shower curtain touches them while they're showering. Understandable, I get that. But then 99% of the time when you're not actually showering in this van, you can simply roll this halo shower up, put the cabinet back into place, and go back to having all of this open room here. And then when it comes to the toilet, Storyteller actually includes a Dometic portable cassette toilet in here, which I took out. I've never used it, and I've just kind of grown to live on the road without having a toilet with me. In some situations, yes, it would be nice to have, but I would rather use this space to store things. Once you're camping and living off grid for a while, you find some tips and tricks to be able to use the facilities outside without the comfort of an actual toilet. And that's a topic for another video, which I'm gonna be honest, I probably will never make a video on that. I've been getting by just fine without having the toilet in here. If I wanted to have one, I could throw that in. I understand why people may not love this setup, but maybe now, looking at all this space, you understand why I personally love it. So if you haven't caught on by now, the reason I really love the Storyteller is the use of space in here. You have a bunch of different configurations you can put the van in, and the garage space back here is something that I've really customized. These vans come stock with just a big open garage back here. You could fit like 4 mountain bikes, you could fit 1 wheels, you could probably even fit a dirt bike, or you can turn it into more of like a storage and workspace, kind of like I did. There is so much room for activities back here, even with all of the stuff that I've added. It makes working in this kitchen galley area a lot nicer because I can prep food back here and then come over to the induction cooktop and actually cook things. There's just something about all of the flexible space in this van that I really enjoy, and I don't want to dive too much into this yet because that's going to send us down the mod route. So if you're here for some modification talk, this is going to be it. Let's hop outside and just kind of work our way front to back. All right, we're gonna do this part kind of quick and dirty. If you're coming to this video looking for ideas on modifications for your own van, I've done a lot of the work for you. If you go over to my website, sciproductions.com/scigarage, you can find a full build sheet for this van and any other vehicle that you see on my channel. I have left links and in some cases discount codes to a lot of the products that I have put on this van. So if you're looking for specific details, you can jump over to the website and really fine tune what you're looking for. That being said, I should also give a shout out to my friends at Adrenaline Vans, where I have done a large majority of the modification to my Storyteller at. They are based out of Montrose, Colorado. They are well worth the trip no matter where you live in the country. I know they have customer base from California to Florida, up in the Northeast. People travel from all over to go to Adrenaline because of the high quality work that they do. I don't want to put too much pressure on the folks at Adrenaline, but I'm betting that you could go there and say, I want to turn my Storyteller into something like the Sci mode. Every single component that I put on this van, you can actually order through them and have them install it at the same time. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop, of course, head over to my website and check out some of the modifications, some of the pricing and things like that over there. And then if you're really committed and you're up for it, contact Adrenaline Vans and let them know what you want to do to your own van. Now, in no particular order, we're gonna start up front here and work our way back. First up with the Backwoods Adventure Mod Low Pro Scout Bumper. The reason for going with this style of bumper is because I really wanted to keep it kind of OEM looking. I would consider this OEM plus or maybe even plus because under the hood with the drivetrain and the suspension and everything, it's a lot more than just OEM plus, but this Backwoods bumper keeps that stock-ish looking feel. I have a 12,000 pound winch in there, which was the main reason for bolting this thing on. We got some Agency 6 recovery gear, and of course this is a great place to mount some lighting. For lighting over the full van, it is all Diode Dynamics. I have their SS5 pods up front. I have 8 of them on their universal bracket across the top. I have some SS2s as camp lights in the rear and out the side of the van. And a cool thing that I should mention are my ditch lights right here. I've actually teamed up with Diode Dynamics and we put together this special kit. These are probably my favorite lights because you can do everything with them. These are the SS3 Pros. They are backlit, RGB, so you can change the color of them to match your van. I, of course, am running the full white at the normal brightness. They also offer them in amber, and the cool factor to it is, of course, the cover as well. So I teamed up with them to make some camo covers for the SS3s, and you could use these anywhere as camp lights, as ditch lights, bumper lights. You could probably put like 12 of them across the top of a Sprinter van and run a massive custom light bar, which is pretty cool. So I'd recommend checking them out for all your lighting needs. And then working our way back just a little bit more, underneath the hood, I have a lot of wiring in here for all of the accessories. That is going to a Garmin power switch. I also have an ARB twin compressor in there. That way I can air down and then air up my tires while I'm on the trail. And that thing also feeds air into the rear locking differential from Agile Off-Road. That was one of the more recent modifications, and we did a full install video of that system at Adrenaline Vans. So if you guys want some really nerdy van guy shop details about that thing, you can check out that video, link up there in the corner. And I'm still in the process of testing that thing, but I will say it helped me get unstuck when I was coming up to the mountains today. Since my tires are getting a little low on tread life, I lost traction and kind of slid my rear end off the back of a trail, and I did a little bit of self-recovery, so I used the winch for the second time, and I straightened myself back out onto the trail and was able to make it up to the spot that I'm at right now filming this video. Now, also under the hood, something that I did on my previous van was add a beefier secondary alternator to feed power into that system. The Storyteller Volta system that I'm currently running on this van has not really given me any problems. Some people go back and forth with it. Storyteller is actually using a lithionic system now in their newest vans, but this Volta system for me personally is plenty of power. I can run the AC, I can run fans and lights, and I can live out of this thing days at a time, especially thanks to that alternator that they put in there. All I have to do is drive for about 2 hours, and if I was at 0% battery, it's going to be fully charged. There is a little bit of solar on the roof, which honestly doesn't do much. I think it's like a 90-watt panel, but there's a reason why I didn't put anything else up there, because I have the Canyon Adventure Van's upper deck seating system. You guys have seen this in a few different videos over the past year. And is it kind of trick and unnecessary? Probably for most people, but when you are living on the road, going to all these different van meetups and festivals, it is such a cool place to hang out. So we have 2 seats up there with an LED lit umbrella. You can go out, park on the side of a cliff, drink your morning coffee, read a book, get some work done, and it's just a really cool way to use that front runner roof rack up there, which comes factory from Storyteller. I think that's about all for the engine bay and front of the van. Now, working our way back just a little bit more to the suspension. I've driven in vans with a lot of different suspension over the years, and it keeps getting better and better. The big players in the game are constantly developing new products, and I am super stoked to be running the current setup that I have on here. So for suspension, I am running the Van Compass 6.3 kit, which is an adjustable shock, and that is in all 4 corners. There is a 2-inch lift involved with the 6.3, which gives me more ground clearance at the same time. The only kit above this would be the 6.5, and the difference there is that the 6.3 has a manual adjust and the 6.5 has an automatic electronic adjustment, which you can do from the inside of the van. Over the past year, it has been absolutely amazing in all different environments, but one of the more recent developments from Van Compass are these rally struts. Now, this is a new product that has been in development for probably almost a year now, and you will see them out on the road quite a lot more. Now, I'm still in the testing phase with these rally struts. It, of course, is snowing in Colorado. A lot of trails close this time of year, but going through 2024, I'm definitely going to be bringing you guys a full dedicated video on these struts, because I can already tell you the ride improvement is insane. We have done some crazy stuff in Van Compass's personal van when we were kind of testing these out, and I won't be pushing my personal van as hard as they push their testing van, but it is nice to know what this thing is actually capable of. Another quick note is that underneath I have full skid plates from Van Compass as well. It bolts up really nicely to my backwoods bumper, and that is covering the whole front engine area, the transfer case, and the only thing that I don't have is a differential skid plate, which I should probably get at some point. I'm gonna put that on the list for this year. Now, you will notice with that Van Compass 6.3 kit, the van is super tall. I have some really good ground clearance, and on the passenger side of the van, I added a amp research step, which kind of tucks up and hides out of the way. So this thing makes getting in and out of the van pretty easy, and then when you close the door, after about 2 seconds, That step retracts up and out of the way and just gives you more ground clearance. Now moving to the back, again, we have those Falcon Van Compass shocks there. For the leaf pack, I'm running their OptiRate leaf pack, which is adjustable depending on what type of van you have and what kind of load you're carrying. Now, since the Storyteller van is pretty built out from the factory, it is a little bit on the heavier side, especially with all of the gear that I've put inside. So I'm currently running the stiffest configuration back here, and so far that has been absolutely great. Now moving back just a little bit further to match the front bumper, we of course have the backwards rear bumper. Keeps all of your factory sensors in there. So blind spot monitoring, parking sensors, and all of that stuff still works as normal. And I was able to put some of those Diode Dynamics SS3 Pros in here. We wired those into my reverse lights, so when I put this thing in reverse, I'm not kind of like hunting around through my window tint trying to see in the dark. These things illuminate everything and they are super nice. With that backwards bumper, I did have to actually change the factory exhaust, so Adrenaline Vans welded up this kind of custom exhaust here. Instead of dumping straight out the back, it kind of turns by the tire. We have a nice big exhaust tip on there and it looks pretty factory. It looks really nice and I'm glad we ended up doing that. So that brings us to the back portion of this van, where it looks kind of crazy right now. Got a lot of stuff going on here, starting with the AWD B2 carrier. The reason I went with the classic mode is because I wanted to run the AWD products, and of course I didn't want to go with the Beast. I wanted to do everything myself, so I opted for the naked back and we installed the B2 carrier, a mini Sherpa up here, that way I can mount other accessories like an Agency 6 shovel. And then I have the large Expedition box from AWD here, which is looking a little empty right now, not gonna lie. I typically have some hoses, camp chairs, and cleaning supplies, other things like that in here. It does lock, and I would recommend leaving it locked whenever you're not by the van. And then you have some more panels on the outside for more accessories. Over on the driver's side, I do have the AWD tire carrier, which is really nice because they have a bucket underneath here. This wheel and tire combo is pretty hefty, so when you have to change out to a spare, it makes putting one up there a lot easier. Speaking of that, we have some AWD Talon wheels on this van, which are specific for the Sprinter. There's a lot of companies out there, wheel manufacturers, that were just kind of taking truck wheels and retrofitting them to fit on a Mercedes Sprinter. These wheels were actually built for big, heavy Sprinter adventure vans like this. They have 2 valves on there, so I'm running Apex valves, which makes airing the van down a lot easier. And then those are wrapped in the Toyo Tires Open Country RT Trails. I should also mention my exterior trash bag here. This is coming from the Last Bag Co. This is a USA made company. It is bomb proof. I also have one of these for my truck, and it's really nice to get your inside trash outside, especially when you're camping inside of the van. And then finally coming around to the driver's side of the van here, not a whole lot to note on this side. We have the camp lights up top, like I mentioned. Those are the SS2s. I have a Front Runner Max Track mount. So I have 2 pairs of Max Tracks up there, 4 in total. 2 of them are the Extreme pair, which I recommend for a van of this size and weight. And then I have a normal set as well. And then of course a Backwoods Adventure Mod ladder to just kind of tie everything else in together. And this was actually the first ladder that we ever put together. I think this was the first Backwoods ladder installed on a Storyteller. It looks great, very easy to climb even if you're barefoot because of the wide flat steps. And that of course is how you get up there to hang out at the upper deck seating system, or also to install my Starlink. I think we covered pretty much everything back here. We do have that locking differential, which I will owe you guys a video on at some point throughout this year. It's not great to test that thing in the snow, except for drifting. If you do like to drift, you can lock those rear wheels together and get this thing sideways, but we'll save that for another video. Now, let's hop inside and take a look at all of the crazy stuff I've done in the interior. Now, we are going to go first person style for this, that way you guys can kind of see what this looks like through my eyes. There's a whole lot to talk about here, and I don't want to harp on things too much because, like I said, everything has a video. So let's just run through this really quickly. One of my favorite modifications, something that you can't really see, is the Roam Rig beatbox system. I had this in my old van, and now I have one of the newer versions in this van. There is a 10-inch subwoofer and controller down underneath the passenger seat. There are upgraded door speakers, tweeters, and it makes this thing sound incredible. Not only music, but podcasts and phone calls, everything's just a lot more clear and crisp. The van does have CarPlay, so I'm constantly on the phone while I'm driving around, and it just makes my life a lot easier. I can hear people, they can hear me really well, and that is well worth the investment. I also installed a Midland GMRS radio up here. On this specific chassis, you have a void right over here in front of the passenger seat. So we kind of hid that, ran the wires through, and I can simply pull off my handset and talk to my friends while we're out on the trail. Another one of my absolute favorite mods here are these Scheelman Vario F seats. I have both the driver and passenger seat. There's like 14 points of adjustability, but the main thing that I always tell people is that having two armrests is one of the best things that you can have in a vehicle like this. It's like you're sitting in a recliner, super comfortable, and when you are driving for hours and hours, I probably have over 350 hours in these seats already. It saves your back. They go a long way. They are fairly expensive, but there's a lot of cool functionality to them. Like, you can flip them forward to have some more space back here. I made a whole Instagram post about these seats, so if you want some more details, you can find that over on my Instagram. Moving back a little bit further, this is where we're getting into the Canyon Adventure Vans goodies. So here I have a folding table, which you can kind of move around. One of the coolest parts is that I can actually push it in between the two seats, and there we have extra cup holders. I can sit up here while I'm not driving and do some work, and it just gives a little bit more flexibility to the space. I also have the Showtime curtains. I do not put anything in my windows. Even in the winter time now, I'll just turn the heat on and then close off the front. It takes about 2 seconds. And those mount up to, I believe this is the RB component shelf. This one I got installed while I was at Canyon Adventure Vans. I have their soft goods all over this van too, so I have a bunch of storage up on this shelf, and that is where I keep I believe it's about a 32-inch TV. So that thing hangs from this shelf, and then we can watch movies in the van at night, which is pretty cool. We got the mode comm over here for controlling all of the Storyteller components, inverter, power, things like that. And then in the first cabinet here, this is where I ran my router for the Starlink. So that thing is always connected. The wire is ran up there to the roof. And like I said, whenever I need to use it, I just climb up there and plug it in. I also have Canyon Adventure Vans climate shades on all of the windows here. The best thing about these is that it keeps the temperatures outside, and it keeps the inside temperature inside. So on a day like today, it is fairly cold outside, and at nighttime when the temperature drops, it will start to get cold in here. In the daytime, I'll let the sun kind of heat up the interior, and then once it sets, I will close these up, and it will retain the warmth in here because these things are, of course, insulated. It works the same in the summertime. If it is blazing hot outside, I can keep the sun out with those. There are different vent flaps on the bottom, that way you can still operate the windows. And again, I have those on both sides. I have it by the bed over here, and then the back window's covered as well. Here I have that Groove Lounge mattress that I was talking about, so I can sleep in here with another person if I need to. And then for the Storyteller storage, Magma cookware, and then Inhabit Design Works drawer inserts. So we have full kitchen set here for 2 people, cups, knives, cooked knives, paring knives, plates, bowls, pepper, salt, spoons, forks, butter knives, and things like that. And then just the regular old induction cooktop from Storyteller. Speaking of Inhabit Design Works, the entire floor in here is the custom Storyteller tweed, I believe is what they call this, and it matches the interior perfectly. It looks like it came from the factory like this. I have that covering my kitchen as well. Here we have a Canyon Adventure Vans cutting board, Canyon Adventure Vans bamboo sink cover, and basically everywhere you look in the back of this van has Storyteller functionality, but also some goodies from Canyon. I have their L-track mounts here where I hang my towels to dry, hang my hats on there at night, little storage bins for business cards and stickers, whatever else I got up there. And you can mount basically anything to this L-track. Right here I have a mirror. Hey guys, that's what you look like. Underneath the microwave, we have a paper towel holder. Over here, we have a trash can from Canyon. And again, everything Canyon back here. So the upgraded Luxe mattress, the GSS and CSS1. So this is where I keep my Starlink dishy. Got some extra clothing and towels, and there's just so much storage space with something like this. All I have to do is move the mattress down to the Groove Lounge couch, and then I have a full workbench here. This is where I edit all of my videos while I'm on the road. The CSS is the seating portion of this. So the seats flip up. We got 2 of them there. They match the factory Mercedes seats. They have a master upholsterer in-house, so the quality of this stuff is like it's coming directly from Mercedes, which is super nice. Definitely a premium product, but well worth the money. I have the under bed storage system here from Canyon, so this is where I keep all of my clothing. And we also made a custom slimline shelf here. Gives me more headroom at night because I sleep with my head at the window. You still keep the factory reading lights from Storyteller. And then also in the CSS, we have the cab vac box. So central vacuum system in this van, more storage down here, and then another full slide out for the rear. I also have the door organizer pockets back here for cables and shackles and things of that nature. And then more L-track and storage by the bed. This is where I keep my TV remote, phone chargers, other things like that. And that was a very quick rundown. That was about as quick as I could do it. More Canyon Adventure Van cover for the Max Air fan. So a lot of cool stuff on the interior of this van. If you guys have any questions, drop them down below. Hit up the website for more details on where you can find this stuff. And also check out my Storyteller playlist, because that is where you will find me installing and testing out everything on the interior here. So that is where the Storyteller side mode sits after 1 year of ownership. I tried to get through this video as quickly as I could, and hopefully I covered a lot of the things that you guys were curious about when it comes to me traveling around the country in the side mode. This van will go through some more changes throughout this year, especially preparing for the Alaska trip, so I will bring you guys some more videos on that. My first van trip of this year will actually be down to Arizona in April. So the middle of April, I'm heading down to OWL. They're having an open house, and then I will be attending the Adventure Van Expo in Scottsdale, Arizona. From there, me and the whole van fam, we're heading down to Bisbee, Arizona for another Weird Wild West. I might bring you guys some videos on that. I might not. Sometimes it can be a little too weird, but you can stay up to date with all of my traveling over on my Instagram, over on my website, and of course here on the channel. So if you are new here and you're interested in some more Storyteller content, make sure you consider clicking subscribe, because I make new videos every single week. And as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you in the next one.